Once she had taken a moment to breathe, Everest feverishly looked around the mess of overturned boxes. There had to be something, anything, even the smallest thing she could use to defend herself. That wicked animal was still out there, prowling the ceilings and walls for stragglers. Even after spearing her leg, the monster allowed her to crawl away. She had been helpless, bleeding out like in a ruptured sack, but the killing blow never came. It let her run. A pit formed in her stomach as she nosed around the cardboard mess, her wounded leg wincing at every frail movement. "This can't be happening," she shakily repeated to herself. "This isn't happening. It can't be happening. Why me?" She had already tried the radio in her collar. Not a single thing responded to her desperate pleas for help. Only silence emanating from the speaker. The Rough pack had callers, she knew for a fact, but the damn things weren't turned out the right signal. Canine whimpers filled the room as she searched for anything of use. Worthless medical equipment, a blizzard of papers and dust, all lay strewn across the floor. Her aimless searching finally ceased as she unearthed a small object under the stack of pens. A spare phone. Relief flooded in her mind as she thanked the deities above, gripping it as if she were her own child. It wouldn't entirely be a victory, as Everest frantically dialed 911, only to get no outer service. "No!" came her silent cry, gripping from what could be the only thing to save her life. With nothing left to turn, she dialed the numbers of the ski lounge itself, calling the phone in the lobby. Surely there was enough to contact her. There had to be. At least a dozen other phones dotted the ski lounge at other areas, but they all had different numbers, and Everest couldn't remember a single one. "Please work," she pleaded. "Please work." She held the phone close to it, letting it buzz. The sound of distant ringing echoed from the hallway, the lobby phone loudly announcing itself. It wasn't long before the stench of blood hit her nose, and hurried scampering past by the door to her closet. Everest's heart dropped, realizing the creature would hear the phone as well. She cut the call instantly, silencing but receiving the phone to hopefully spare the life of anyone walking to it. Backing herself into the corner, her hope was starting to fade as her options ran dry. Pleading for luck, she dialed the only number left she knew, the intercom. A few buttons had Jake's passcode and was all it took, and Everest's voice was broadcast throughout the whole building. "Hello?" She spoke into the phone, and instantly she heard the massive echo of her own voice bouncing off the walls. "This is Everest. I've locked myself in the closet. If any other dogs are still alive, please tune your..." Her mind blanked as she tried to remember the numbers. "Tune your callers to 442, please." She hung up and let the phone fall, her heart still racing. "Please work, please." She could only pray her response met any living ears. For a long time she dwelled within the closet, pacing back and forth and looking over the spilled boxes. Her heart longed for Jake, for him to sweep in and carry her out of her miserable nightmare. But a sinking feeling told her that she would get no such rescue. Every minute that passed, her hope would only fade even more. Setting down the dirty tile floor, Everest hung her head. Then, like the sound of an angel piercing darkness, a voice emitted from her collar. "Hello?" The husky snapped her attention, jumping in surprise. "What? Who is this? Who's talking?" "It's Dwayne," the dog said in a low voice. "I heard you on the intercom." "You're alive?" Everest was flooded with joy, her sorrow burning to ash at the reveal of one more still living. "Thank God, thank them all. Where are you?" I am in a really big and dark room," Dwayne reported, sounding uncertain. "There's a lot of computers around me, and these giant boxes with little lights." "That's our server farm. You're down in the server farm." The husky had physically restrained her excitement. "Have you seen Jake or Gasket?" She rattled off her questions, despite desperate for answers. "No, I haven't," the Great Dane said, his voice on edge. "I heard screaming, so I ran downstairs. Do you know what's happening?" "Good question." Everest had a cute clue herself, but she did know it was a grim scene. There's something in the ski lounge," she said, quivering at the memory. "I don't know what it is. It's some monster. It killed Hubcap. I saw it myself." "Hubcap? Did it really?" I saw it with my own eyes, Dwayne. It was horrible. Oh, his voice deflated, feeling sorrow upon realizing treasured friend was gone. But Gasket's still out there, right? I don't know. I haven't found her, or her body. But I haven't found Jake either. He's smart. He's probably hiding in our safe room. Safe room? Like a storm bunker, you know? If he's anywhere, he's there. A glow of determination began to rose within her. I have to go get him. He surely had heard my voice on the intercom. He knows I'm alive now. Where is the safe room? Dwayne asked, mirroring her resolve. I should get there too. Lower floor. There's a secret door in one of the archive rooms. All we have to do is get there and reunite with Jake. Then we could take my snowplow and get out of there. You have a snowplow outside? Dwayne asked in surprise. Why don't we just go there and escape? I'm not abandoning my owner, hissed the husky. I'm going to get him out of there. Don't you think he would have wanted you just to get out as soon as possible? I don't imagine he wants you to stick around in a time like this. No, I'm hitting the safe room, and you are too. There are things there we can use. There's just one problem, she winced, remembering a horrific detail. We're being hunted. Dwayne's voice significantly rose and with unease. What is it? I don't know what it is. You literally can't see it. It's fucking invisible. Everest spat. It snuck up on me and got me good in the leg. Are you alright? I'll be fine. She breathed, feeling the claustrophobic in the closet. We need a plan. They sat in silence, pushing past the nerves in her mind as they tried to come up with any possible course of action. Pacing around the room, Everest spoke up her ideas aloud. We need a way to track it or trap it. Ugh, what would the Paw Patrol do in a time like this? Irritation coursed through her, knowing the team of 6 would likely have the whole situation resolved by now. 5. She merely corrected herself. It was a team of 5 now. If she made it out of this alive, Everest would want to be the first dog at Sky's funeral and personally confront Chase for his actions. You're in the server room, right? Everest said. I think our security room isn't too far from there. It's in the basement level too. What's in there? Nothing entirely useful, she sighed, but we do have CCTV cameras all over the lounge. I'm pretty sure the camera console is in that room, she muttered, her plan coming together in her head. If we could find the creature on the cameras, her voice faded, immediately realizing the flaw in her plan. A creature that is invisible. It wouldn't work. With a huff, she mentally threw away the whole plan, slouching against the wall in irritation. Are the cameras motion activated? Dwayne asked suddenly. If they are, it should still work. They are, but how? Didn't you hear me? The monster's invisible. I remember a lot of good things I used to do with bikers. We would take odd jobs for people's money, he said, much to Everest's confusion. So, in one of them we got paid to install cameras around a house. It was an old lady, she couldn't do it herself. He chuckled to himself. Hubcap demanded pay, but I saw Gasket secretly give the money back when he wasn't looking. The lady was very happy with her. It made her happy too. Dwayne, what the hell are you talking about? I learned about cameras that day, he continued. The ones we installed were motion activated, but not physical objects passing in front of them. They had sensors, like a heat detector and I think it was called a superviolet. Everest blinked. Superviolet? Do you mean ultraviolet? Ultraviolet sensors were found in any certain types of security cameras. They enabled its watchful eyes with the ability to detect wavelengths of light not visible in traditional brand cameras. They were usually intended for forcing advantages and enhanced security. It was probably profound in future, detecting bodily fluids, especially ones invisible to the naked eye. Slowly his words began to piece together in the husky's head. Every living thing on the earth left traces, no matter how minuscule, even if they were completely invisible. Whatever the creature was, perhaps it was truly formless to its own eyes, but under a camera designed to sense body heat or DNA. That would work, she said in awe at Dwayne's idea. And come to contact with plenty of food and blood and bodily fluid. Under the ultraviolet sensor, it glowed like a fucking Christmas tree. Everest looked up at the wall, contemplating her chances. All this assuming our cameras can do that to begin with. Well, do they? I don't know. I don't remember when Jake bought them. Ultraviolet sensors, probably not, but the body heat is, maybe. She couldn't stay in the closet forever. She had to move. Dwayne, go to the security room. I'll call the lobby again to attract the creature there. That should give you enough time to move safely. Alright, tell me when, he said, steadying his breathing. Everest turned back to the drop phone and redialed the number. After less a few seconds, the lobby phone once again reawakened with annoying ring. She waited patiently for the rapid scrabbling of the creature to pass through her door, but it never did. It likely moved to an entirely different part of the lounge, taking a new route to the lobby. Okay, new problem. I can hear it. Can't hear it. She winced onto the radio. But it's so fast, so it's likely there now. Probably about to spear the phone or something. Should I? Dwayne asked. Yeah, go! Knowing the coast was temporarily clear, Everest swiftly moved to the closet door and pushed it open. She carried the spare phone in her teeth, knowing it would be foolish to leave such a thing behind. Her leg wept up from the pain of movement. Fighting against the stress it punctured muscle. She couldn't dwell on it now. She had to get somewhere before the killer came back. Peeking out in the hallway, her eyes caught the dried blood trail she had left earlier. It was a grisly sight. A sick feeling coming to her stomach was nausea swayed her body. No time pushing away through the pain. Everest slipped up open and took the hallway, traveling as far from the lobby as she could. She made it back into one of the seating areas of the lounge, a dark room of unfolded tables and plastic chairs. Ski equipment littered the floor, likely from the inconsiderate patrons discarding their gear instead of returning it formally. Moving under one of the chairs, the best protection she could possibly find, she set the phone down and waited for the update. Dwayne, you there? She looked around hastily, scanning the locked metal cabinets that lined the walls. Dwayne? I'm here, he reported, finally in. I made it inside. Can you lock yourself in there? I could try jamming the door, but there's a massive vent in there. Well, sure, Everest waved off. There's vents all over the lounge. Do they have cameras inside them? What? The husky frowned her eyebrows. No, they're vents. Why would they? I'm just asking. The creature could probably use them, but you're right. Everest's heart dropped like a weight of a skyscraper. Her voice cut out as terror ran through her mind, even as Dwayne called her name over and over through the radio. He was right. He was absolutely horrifying right. She had personally witnessed the creature moving along the ceiling, so the vent access was completely possible. The vents were numerous and all over the ski lounge like a fungal network. If it got to a vent, it could reappear anywhere it wished, and they would never know where it went until it actually reemerged. And Dwayne would be a sitting duck. Everest, he said, his repeating voice finally getting through to her. Yeah, I'm here, she sputtered. Do you see the camera control? The muffled sounds of movement came from his end. I do, actually. I've seen stuff like this before. He paused for a moment, getting settled in while Everest was nervously listening to her surroundings. Dwayne rustled around before he spoke again. Here it is. The screen is right in front of me. Oh, wow. His voice glowed in awe. You really can see anything from there. This is cool. Focus, Everest snapped, baring her teeth of impatience. Do you see anything that can help us track the creature? Give me a minute. Using a keyboard with pause is difficult. He spent a moment without a word, although every second of silence was riding Everest's anxiety. Okay, I see the camera control, and I see how to get the switch between cameras. This is neat and all, but I don't see anything on them. Do they have infrared vision? She asked him. I thinks. How would I know? Look for a button or something. There has to be a way. Everest grabbed the phone and dialed up the lobby again, seeking to keep the creature as far away as possible with what little she could do. To her distant dismay, the call failed and the lobby phone had been destroyed. Dwayne came through. I don't see anything. The husky scrambled for an answer. Do you see the terminal? Try typing in the command itself. Toggle infrared. Dwayne was struggling. He had already been consumed by his own stress, and he made his haste for the security room. His movements were sloppy and his breathing incoherent as he raced for safety. Everest's pushy demands weren't helping, only further riding his anxiety. A part of him almost snapped from being retort, nearly snapping for her just to shut up. He couldn't say that to her. He didn't need that. He told himself he just had to push through and work this confusing, complex machinery. How do you spell infrared? He asked shakily, holding his sweaty paws over the keyboard. Are you serious? Everest growled through a radio. Words are hard, okay? The Dane quipped, feeling unsafe under the massive vent opening. I'm trying my best. Now, how do you spell it? With an obvious exasperation in her voice, Everest slowly listed off each letter of the word. While Dwayne carefully followed along, the computer, processing the mind and the screen in front of him, changed. The camera viewed was bathed in blue, the footage switching over its heat-seeking setting. The impatient husky could be heard on the line. Did it work? It did, Dwayne widened his eyes, mesmerized by the flood of cool colors. Hold on, let me see if I can... He took the camera to the control cycling through the different views and all across the ski lounge. He only had basic knowledge on how to work a machine like this from a past odd job, anything else. He'd just have to ask Everest about it. Images flashed in front of his eyes. The lobby, a hallway, another hallway, the back of the lounge, a garage, another room. There it was. The massive red splotch was moving on the screen, its body heat detected by the camera. It stalked on the ceiling, creeping it like a giant roach about to drop on someone's head. Even with the considerable distance between them, Dwayne couldn't help but feel petrified at the sight of the killer. Everest, he said with nearly frozen voice, I found it. It's in a room with a bunch of skis and hanging clothes. That's the equipment storage room, she replied. I know where that is. It's the nearest phone to where there would be. She paused. The outside hallway, if it went there. That would place it even farther from us. If I could call the phones around the lounge, we should be able to lure it by sound and keep it off of us. Do you see any papers there with listed numbers? He almost gave no reply, instead staring at the malicious creature through the cameras. The squint of his eyes, he could somewhat make out the physical proportions, although the finer details were obscured to him. The creature's shape was easily seen. The body resembled of a dog, with 4 legs, a muzzle, and pointed ears. Yet there was something unkempt about it, something ragged and straggling. 2 fin tails hung from its rear, moving in the air like snakes. They were nearly long enough to reach down to the floor, and both tails were tipped with the resembled spearheads. They weren't just appendages. Dwayne realized with a cold shiver. They were weapons. Dwayne! Everest snapped. Right. The Dane shook his head of the nerves, turning to the nearby table strewn with paperwork. Numbers, right. The search was messy. As objects crashed into the floor, they were bumped off, but Dwayne eventually unearthed this sheet of paper that resembled what the husky wanted. Okay, I found it, he reported in. Which phone do you need? The one outside the equipment storage. He blinked, looking down at the list of phone numbers. Does it have another name? I don't see it on that one. His companion noticeably fed up with his incompetence. West hallway. Maybe uppermost? Oh, I see it, he said, desperately to be helpful. I'll read you off the number. For the first time in that dreadful night, something had gone properly. Dwayne witnessed the creature on the cameras, watching it stop and prick its ears, before suddenly racing out of the room. Cycling through the feeds, and the Dane observed the monster traversing the lounge, responding to the ringing of the phone. You did it, he said, wagging his tail. For now, at least, Everest said grimly. I don't know how many times this will actually work. It already broke the phone in the lobby. No reason it won't do that again. She went quiet for a moment, thinking over the plan of action. Okay, I need to get to the safe room using these numbers. I could call the phones to lure it away from me, but it won't be able to hear a phone across the whole lounge. I can only call phones I know it'll hear, Dwayne. I need you to keep tabs on what that thing is at all times. You can count on me, the Dane nodded. If we find Jake, maybe we'll find Gasket too. And you all need to tell right away if he goes into a vent. It will show up anywhere, so you better race to find it. We need to move quickly because it will shred the phones if it gets pissed off. Then we'll have nothing to keep it away. Everest let out a long sigh. Okay, are you ready? I am. Dwayne took the camera console, waiting for her commands. Alright, let's do this.
What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video, and I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new, ring the bell for notifications to when I upload so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel, known as Ms. Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it, as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said, and that being the case, thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, please stay pretty.